Okay, so thank you very much. I will share my screen because I have a small presentation to make sure that it's easier to understand. Okay, I hope it's okay for everybody. You can see my presentation.
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you. So nice. I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you for the invitation. So I'll go quite fast for the presentation. We'll have a short video in the middle. The topic is innovation and entrepreneurship in the EdTech sector. I will present Grenoble École de Management, what we are doing, with a focus on the Nanoelec Institute of Research and Technology for only one reason. It is a major partnership that we have here, and it is this partnership which has enabled us to build what we call GEM Labs. And GEM Labs is really at the core of our innovation and entrepreneurship approach. And this is where we build collaboration with the EdTech sector. So we are not only doing things with this institute, but really it's the major one with a lot of funds, a lot of partners. So very quickly, I am Sylvie Blanco, so Professor of Technology Innovation Management, Executive Director of Innovation, blah, 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 GEM Labs founder. I'm quite proud of it. I am the head of a team training program in the Nanoelec Institute. I'm not an engineer. I'm really have my background and my PhD in administrative science. So it's quite a great performance according to myself. And the most important thing probably is I have 30 years of experience in the local ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship as a student, as a researcher, as a startupper, as a consultant in high-tech new venture, as a teacher, and as a board representative. So I think that this is an ingredient of of the story I tell you. We have this kind of mobility and very close proximity with all these stakeholders of innovation and entrepreneurship in the local area, and this is very important.
Yeah. Sylvie, can I just interrupt you? There is a question. Can you show your PowerPoint on a slideshow rather than in the PowerPoint?
Sorry, yes, of course.
So that people can see it a bit larger. Yeah.
Yes.
That's
yes,
better.
Much better.
Yeah.
So
thank
sorry.
you very much. No, it's okay.
Thank you for the interruption. Okay, so I will present you 4 elements, but the major one is about linking innovation and EdTech. So first, contextual elements about Grenoble, about the school, and about our ecosystem of technology and innovation. It is an introduction to our innovation strategy and our innovation framework. And without this framework, we would not be able or not be really serious in the way we develop collaboration with EdTech. We've tried without this framework, and really it's not satisfying. Then I will give you some example about links with EdTechs. So 3 small case studies and a very, very rapid preliminary learning and perspective. So a few elements about a few contextual elements about my presentation. You can read the figures. I won't read everything. Grenoble area is very well known for either being the capital city of the French Alps, a great place for people who enjoy skiing. We are a very green city in France. Our mayor is really very invested in ecology. What is more remarkable in Grenoble, it's we are really research and technology oriented, a big university, UGA, Université Grenoble-Alpes. We are partnering with this university, of course. A lot of students, a lot of researchers, a lot of research jobs in the area, and leading innovative firms like Schneider Electric, ST Microelectronics, so they are born or almost born in Grenoble. Just to give you an idea about this startup dynamics, it started about 50 years ago at least, and it's still alive. In 1984, if I come to the school, Grenoble École de Management, in 1984, the school has been created on the demand of the corporate world and of the local ecosystem. The major problem was to sell technologies. To commercialize technology. I make it very short. So we have a differentiation strategy, which is based on technology innovation management. So this is our core expertise. Our reputation is really based on technology innovation management. You can see that we are quite well ranked. So we are an international business school, a standard international business school with in the top 7 in France, taking into account that the cities ranked 10 or 11, and that the first 3 French business schools are in Paris. So it's quite a good score for us. So we are a standard business school. We have a very strong differentiation on technology innovation management in line with our local ecosystem. And so we've defined our innovation mission at level 3. Level 1 is we have gurus and they are talking about innovation with big messages, right? We don't have that much gurus. We tried, but we are in Grenoble. Then the second level is about teaching innovation and teaching innovation management. And now I would say that there is almost no one school which is not teaching innovation management. We have to change the way we teach innovation management and the content of innovation and entrepreneurship. And then level 3 is about having an impact and a concrete impact, a concrete contribution to our partners and to our territory, to our local ecosystem of innovation. This is our objective, and to gain this external recognition for our contribution to innovation. So this is really very, very important for GEM. And if you look at GEM on the internet or anywhere, you will see that this is really our positioning. And this is why perhaps I am here today with you. So in the middle of this, we have, of course, this idea of Grenoble ecosystem of innovation, technology and innovation. It's a long story, more than 100 years. Today we have some markers, some indicators. We have big public-private research and innovation projects. So they are here. One of them is this NanoEdTech Institute of Research and Technology. And really, it is at the origin of the creation of GEM Labs. So this institute, it's about 20 partners. Among these partners, we have something like 15 companies. So the corporate world is really very present. They are representing all the value networks from research to markets in nanoelec and nanoelectronics application, let's say in health, so connected health, for instance, in mobility, electric mobility, and in health mobility, energy efficiency. And some key issues are about embedded artificial intelligence and image sensors. And I can tell you that for a business school, it's not that easy to enter into this kind of institute. But they are asking us to come because there is a problem about customer orientation, about business models, about how we transfer this to the market, blah, blah, blah. So this is what we're doing. And one very important thing is that we are not close to a big city like Leuven, for instance, but we are close to the mountain. And really, there is a kind of culture and common identity around skiing and around the mountain. And this is much more important in the story and this 100-year story that what we might have in mind. But I have not time to explain more about the mountains and Grenoble story. So this was about the contextual element that has helped us determine our innovation framework. It is really very important to have an innovation framework to focus our resources, to define our ambition and what we want to bring to the world. We've tried without innovation framework, then we had many ideas, many concepts, but they were so dispersed that we do not have the energy to push all these ideas, all these concepts, and we do not have the appropriate resources to collaborate in for instance, with EdTech, if we do not focus on what we call our innovation battlefield. So on the left side, you have our principles, and we've defined these principles with this kind of guiding principles to define our innovation framework with our partners, and particularly with ST Microelectronics, Schneider Electric, the CEA, which is a French the French Commission for Alternative Energies. It used to be for atomic purpose. And of course, the engineering school. We are really together with the engineering school, with the university, with research centers, and with the corporate world. These principles are a common challenge, the 4S challenge. For the education, it's really difficult. The 4S challenge is about speed. So our teaching has to evolve fast, skills have to evolve fast, scale at the international level, so huge amount of talents, of skills, scope, very transversal. Once you are in one technology, another technology, one's applicative sector, like mobility, then you have to work into another sector like energy. So really very, very transversal. And the last one is about sustainability. It's not new, but it's new when we deal with developing skills about sustainable innovation. So this is a challenge. We have a role at the ecosystem level, which is to build and to nurture the appropriate human capital as a strategic asset of the ecosystem. Then, probably because of this platform-based business models of a platform-based world, Amazon and all these things, digital platforms, we had to adopt a kind of platform-based view of education, which is different from what we are doing and from traditional education. And finally, the ambition is a new dominant design of education for this purpose of innovation. It's really experiential learning of innovation, and it has to be in ecosystem. So we have to address all the ecosystem needs and with a common value of sustainability. So these are the guiding principles. We've translated this into our battlefield. This is the figure. So we have revisited the learner's environment. They are not only individual learners. They have to be able to work in teams, and the corporate world is really willing us to develop these collective skills. And if we want them to be motivated and to come to us, to be attractive, we have to address challenges of sustainability through communities. We are now in a digital era, and communities is just a basic. So we are thinking about learners, both at the individual, at the team level, like for startups, at the community level, the three at the same time. And learning solutions are, of course, impacted by technologies, by digital technologies, by virtual reality, artificial intelligence, etc., etc. So we still have the fundamentals, of course, but more open, more hybrid, more online, more I don't know what. And then, like we talk about we've been talking about the customer experience for years. We are dealing with the learner experience. And technologies are enabling us to provide learners with like real life experiences. And these experiences are just augmented compared to a real life experience, so that we can learn from this experience and we can learn a lot from these experiences. And then the question is how you can provide how to be learner all your life in all daily situations. Because if we have to go faster to evolve and we don't know exactly where, we cannot define in advance the next skills. So each one has to be able to renew his own skills, his own jobs. So our learning solutions are really addressing all these levels. Where we are the most involved in the next 5 years is really in the middle. Immersive experience, labs experiments as a place, as a way to learn. You have a picture of GEM Labs, because of course this immersive experience cannot take place into a classic classroom, into a traditional classroom. It is not a traditional way of learning. So the result of our research, of our pedagogical innovation, of our collaboration is about this immersive experience that we provide to students in labs, like in the Biz Labs. Here, the picture is a connected shop. And perhaps I will ask Emily to show you a very short video about GEM Labs because it will be more concrete. Emily? Moi, j'ai pas le son.
Science, we try to solve managerial and business problems related to society at GEM. There is a room for creativity in research, so I like them. Today, I'm gonna show you the Biz Lab. In this lab, we do experimental consumer research. So this lab consists of 4 sections, which are a living room, a shopping street, a retail store, and a supermarket. Let's have a look together. Welcome to the first section. This is the living room. Basically, in this lab, we provide a real-life experience to the participants and we observe their behavior. We can show them some particular ads or some particular stimuli, so we can play with the color, we can play with the video here, we can play with the lights in this room, and also the smell. We all have cameras in this room, so we can observe what kind of behaviors are participants engaging with. Basically, the purpose of this room to prime our participants and to provoke some emotion. I chose GEM because I really like the research environment at GEM and I really like the team in which I'm doing my thesis. It's the consumer behavior team. So this is the shopping street that we try to give them a real shopping street experience. So there's this screen that detects very basic demographics such as age, gender. This is the supermarket part of the lab that is designed by the support of Ocean. It really looks like a real supermarket. We see some real products coming from the Ocean and with real barcodes. After I get my PhD, I will continue research. I will be a professor somewhere else in the world, who knows? But yeah, I will continue research, that's for sure. The coolest thing that I did so far in my PhD, this is very difficult. I didn't quit so far, maybe. This is the last part of the lab. This is a retail store. It has products from a real French brand, a ski brand. In this setting, we basically have some smart try-in rooms. So I can see some information about the price. I can see some number of likes here coming from a social media. So this is a very helpful tool for us to conduct experiments. Most of the technology that you see here is developed by the partners of Giant. We are really happy for this partnership. Thanks for visiting the Biz Lab with me. And bye. Right.
Okay, thank you very much, Emily. So I just share my screen again. Okay. Okay, so what is very interesting in this video, it's that it has been done by one of our PhD students. And they are really developing, answering new questions, emerging issues in research. And then we are almost immediately transforming this research and these experiments into teaching. So we are just embarking our students into this kind of experiments, and then they are prepared just to the experiment with the language, with a field of study. So for instance, consumer behavior. So they have the fundamentals about consumer behavior. And then they have to understand that if you put some seller assistant, if you put some connected fitting room, then it will change, probably have an impact on the consumer behavior. And then you have to change your own skills as a person who, for instance, is in charge of selling things or managing selling people. So this is a way we are trying to develop these things. Then if we want these kind of research experiment to really become a way of teaching at scale for large cohorts of students, then we really need to fine-tune our solution. And this is where we are working with a startup, with EdTech startups. So we are not just, we had tried with the EdTech Factory to have some key issues, key topics, and make some kind of call for proposal to collaborate with EdTech startups. But finally, it did not really work because we were not really specific enough, strong enough. The challenge was not big enough to really have a collaboration that would enable us to enhance the growth of these startups on the education market. And this is what we need. We need to work with startups that are growing, because the solution that we are developing, we need to just be at scale quickly, and we need these startups to be at scale, and we need them to grow. So this is really something that is very important to be very well aligned on the ambition. So we precised much better the EdTech startups with which we were willing and with which we are willing to collaborate. And our objective as a school is really to be a pioneer in advanced skills in technology and innovation management, research, and teaching, leveraging EdTech startups and EdTech in general. So we are really, we also have some collaboration with EdTechs about online platforms, online learning platforms, for instance. But this is, we consider ourselves not as pioneers, but as fast followers in this field. So this is not really the most important. Regarding communities of learning through challenges, through challenges of sustainability, I think we are not mature enough. So we are trying to explore things with a few startups, with partners, with our own people, but we are not really ready to make this kind of links for innovation and entrepreneurship in the EdTech sector. So we are focused on these in-situ experiments of innovation for learning purpose with startups. We have many. We have more than 3 cases. We have many potential EdTech stories to come, because it is just growing very fast with this positioning. And I will just very rapidly present you 3 collaboration we had with EdTech startups. The first one is about body swap. The second one is campus skills, and the third one is mobile practice. So body swap, I think it comes from, they are located in London. I might be wrong, but I think it's in London. So body swaps, it's a virtual reality, and you are just shifting roles. Okay, this is what they call, why they call it body swaps. You are observing people in a situation, interacting in a situation, and then you can comment. You can say this is good, this is not good, and then you take the place of these different people, and you play the scene yourself, and then you can see the comment on what you did. You can see whether you were able to apply your kind of recommendation to do it better. So we did it about inclusive leadership, and new topics are just emerging. We are involving students, teachers, researchers, both in education and in sustainable innovation, and the innovation team, because we have to be able to implement the technology and the device. So we are implementing this device, and we are also observing and capturing data just to be able to analyze then the impact of this kind of device on soft skills in real life situation. We also try to work on the appropriation of this kind of education technology from the point of view of both students and teachers. and the whole school, because as soon as you have this kind of material to handle, it becomes very, very, very difficult. And with the crisis and the pandemic, it's even more difficult. The next one is the next experiment, collaboration with an EdTech startup, is with Campus Skills. It's quite a long-term collaboration. The topic is, if you learn in situ, if you learn through different experiences, it becomes really difficult to follow your portfolio of skills. So this was a topic of having a e-portfolio of skills that really you can develop on your own and validate with appropriate people. Finally, we started to develop this e-portfolio of skills with teachers, because within our device, of course, teachers, and all teachers, I think, have to develop their digital skills in the pedagogical field. So we've been working on this case, developing and having teachers following their e-portfolio of digital skills. And now, so this was quite exploratory. We have co-developed this system that you have on the screen. And this project now is really entering into a phase of deployment. So we are very, very happy with Campus Skills, because this is really a deployment for students, a new context of e-portfolio, for instance, in different project teams, like startup projects, for instance. And the last case, it's more exploratory. The startup is called Mobile Practice, or the solution. Sometimes I'm confused with the name of the startup and the name of the solution. I'm so sorry. So it is really an ongoing experimentation with students. The idea is to be able to train to train on specific practices on site. For instance, you can train yourself selling with a cobot in our connected shop. And the idea is, what do you learn? So you can just repeat a small scenario of selling something with the support of a cobot in our connected shop. And with a video and some artificial intelligence, you can just see the scene, review the scene, assess yourself, send it to a coach, send it to a teacher, and with some AI inside, it is much easier to look at the right thing on the video and then to give some feedback to the learner. So we are experimenting this, and it's very exploratory, and the artificial intelligence algorithms are really need to be really refined, but it might then become a very big and interesting project. So we have different collaboration, and they are all small projects that can become big projects around the same issue. So to conclude, the determinant of success, well, I could have been further here, but of course, they are the same as for any innovation ecosystem. Visionary people, a common ambition, and with NanoLake Institute is really, really, we know it, we've been really working together for decades, so we are converging quite easily. A strong engagement. This is really strategic for the school, but for all our partners, and in technology innovation management, we are quite well recognized. The most perhaps difficult thing is about the willingness and the ability to co-experiment. We lack skills in experimentation and it's in qualitative experimentation in the field. This is not easy, and it doesn't make leaders decide on experiments. It's very difficult to have them decide on experiments. They really prefer figures and sheets of figures. And of course, mutual trust, but in the long term. This is very important to have really long-term collaboration. Next, so we've launched last month a really big strategic project, and we want it to be an open and a European project. We call it Team Live, so Technology Innovation Management Live. because we do think that we have to renew our approach of technology and innovation management. Entrepreneurship is part of course, technology and innovation management. Startups, the way we are building, developing startups, growing startups is, of course, in this area. And we want it to be really oriented toward learning impact, values, and engagement, rather than being targeting business and only business opportunities and new business opportunities and making profits. This is not the only topic today. So we really have to develop research activities, but also a new way of learning innovation to create, to renew this technology and innovation management field. The ambition is really promoting new creative and entrepreneurial talents for a sustainable digital future, sustainable connected. There is a kind of dilemma when you put these two words together, including, of course, a sustainable digital future in the education sector. And with the crisis and the distance learning, we are not really at the appropriate, at the expected level. And we are willing to scale up this approach, really with all the collaboration and partners willing to do it with us. I think, well, this is the end. So thank you for your attention. And we have some, perhaps a few minutes for a few questions and a view of Grenoble, because it's such a nice place. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Sylvie, for sharing this with us. It was a nice, let's say, continuation of what we have been seeing this morning. So thanks for that. I see a couple of things in the chat, and maybe Evelyn, you first started the discussion there. Can you ask your question to Sylvie, please?
Should I stop the sharing my screen?
Yes, please. Yeah, that's maybe better. Then we can just see each other. That's nice.
Which one? The first one, I think.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. You started the discussion. I didn't see that you continued later. Okay, excuse me.
Oof, I have to look it up myself. Yeah, no, it was no. Okay, you said that that you also did with. I think it was with the example of one of the startups that you also did a study of the impact of the technology on human interaction or on real life. But that means that it's a long-term research, because I think both technology and the behavior and human behavior have impact one on each other. So yeah. And it's really interesting, but yeah, that means it's a really long one, because we are changing also in our behavior. Yeah, so I want to know, how do you do it? How do we understand?
Well, when we talk about experimentation, we talk about active experimentation. Mm-hmm. So we are researchers, students, practitioners, professionals are learning through each experimentation, and we are not waiting the end of a big research project with all the methodological issues, which are very important, but which takes a lot of time, which is really in a very constrained setting to be able to act. So we are also, I think, a very important reflexive job on this small-scale experiment. Okay. And then we are just trying to, and this is where EdTech are very important, because it enables us to better observe what's going on during the scene, during the situation. We just not have these researchers with our paper and their different questions and inquiries trying to observe a maximum things. We are not only doing surveys at the end of the experiment. With this EdTechs, we just can have this observation. If you had some artificial intelligence, you know what to focus on, and then you can accumulate much more through this different qualitative experiment and learn out of it. we know that it is really a very partial learning, but we also have this influence on people, and they are able to be influencers in the way they would recommend to adopt, to select, and to adopt some technologies. So this is a very different way of seeing things, because we are really in a dynamic mindset.
Yeah, it's funny because I had a discussion with somebody, and from origin, I'm an anthropologist, so participated observation is one of the methodologies that is used the most, and that's a little bit what I feel here also. It's a kind of, yeah.
And we have to provoke things. We have to provoke things. We have to provoke situations so that we are able to observe what's going on.
Yeah.
And sometimes you are really, really very surprised. We have developed a game which is phonetics, and so finance and ethical behaviors, and with virtual reality. It's just fantastic, because even the people who are the students who are using phonetics, they just when they end the session, they just say, "Wow, I would not have believed that I would behave this way." And I do not want it to happen again. I just never again, you know. So they are just reflecting about what to do so that we will change our behaviors and it will change the course of things. This is what we are trying to observe. So people just discover, create, share, enrich, and learn new practices and new behaviors. This is, wow. This is the way we try to contribute to technology innovation management, and in fact, it is really much larger than management.
Okay, let's continue. There are a couple more questions that I also like to be addressed here. Arno, you also had a question in the chat.
Yes, that's true. I really became fascinated by those living room labs or the supermarket labs. And my question to you is actually, could you provide us an example of an effect of such an outer stimuli, as she mentioned in the video, the light affects the light of the room, for example, or another outer stimuli on the behavior of consumers. Could you provide us some examples of some interesting what happens when conducting such an experiment?
Yeah. If I will start, for instance, with the shopping the connected shop with clothes. Okay, picture organic clothing is very well known by our students, because they are selling sports clothes, skiing clothes, which are really very cool. Okay, and they came and they say, well, we are very interested in just working with you, because we would like to create our own shops. We think they have to be, our customers are quite young, so they have to be somehow digital or connected. And at the same time, we don't know what to do with it. So what we did is we transformed this connected shop with their clothes inside into a very functional connected shop. And some students worked at implementing new ways of doing things, new technologies, new connected technologies. So for instance, they implemented the connected fitting room. So when you enter into the fitting room with a clothes, the fitting room, there is a special light, which is the light which matches the targeted segment of the clothes. So if it is for girls, you will have a pink light. If it is for urban people, you will have urban music inside. And then you have the number of likes that these clothes has on the internet. Okay. And then they just try it. You have the seller, you have the customers, they are trying these things, and you see the reactions. Okay. And you say, okay, For instance, we have to understand how it works because the customers are really feel to have a connected clothes and to buy a connected clothes so that a lot of data will be tracked. Okay, then we have a new issue about consumer behavior, and we have so it will be a new research issue, but we also have new practices and new skills. You have to know about these technologies when you just work in a shop selling clothes. Mm-hmm. And then we had research about the impact of the number of likes on consumer behavior. And of course, our students were influenced by the number of likes that appeared in the fitting room. Okay?
Okay.
So they have to think about it. Think about it. Should you keep this indicator or not? Is it a good thing, not a good thing? For who and why? For instance, one objective, of course, is customer satisfaction. So you have to think about the number of likes influencing the purchase. Okay. Finally, does it contribute to a better satisfaction for customers? So at the very low level, we just use the conceptual framework to understand what is satisfaction, what is consumer behavior, what is the purchasing intent and purchasing decision. Okay, great. And it is a good way to integrate the conceptual framework, the fundamentals. But then you have to understand that tomorrow, perhaps it won't be the same way because of technology. And perhaps it is not sustainable because you can follow the consumer everywhere.
Okay, interesting. And maybe another small question regarding this: the customers, are they students who know that they are going to be observed, or are they just people selected and you just tell them just go shopping, or?
It depends on the experimental protocol, on the research protocol. So sometimes they don't know, sometimes they know.
Okay.
Because in the real life, you can inform the customer or you can choose not to inform the customer.
And you actually conduct both such experiments.
Yeah, it depends on the research objectives, or it also depends on the pedagogical objectives.
Yeah, okay.
And on the pedagogy.
Okay, thank you.
I think we can continue discussing, but there are a couple more questions that I also like to be answered. Tony, you have another one. Can you? Tony, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm
okay.
here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Maybe you can also ask the question live.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, it was just trying to get to the specifics. I think I can also just pick up on the point about, if you create a mock-up supermarket, what exactly are you doing that's different from a learning process that's not been done before? So I don't know if that was some of the point, but aside from that, it was also looking at when you spoke about visionary people sharing a common ambition at the ecosystem level, because we're trying to get, what actually are the ambitions in terms of learning innovation, or what actually are the ambitions. So it was just trying to say, you love the idea of these visionary people coming together to share a common ambition at the ecosystem, but yeah, what ambitions do you actually have?
Is that clear, Sylvie?
The first question was about the food market, the supermarket.
Yeah, I think I was just trying to tap into what Arno was saying about, how does a mock-up of supermarket shelves create something different in terms of the learning process? But I think you did try to cover that with different elements, so we don't have to go down that. But
but very clearly. Our students are just prototyping for instance, are prototyping the shelves and the mock-up of the shelves. Okay, They can try it, so they try it in real life in the food market. Okay, and then we just install some you know, this kind of camera eye tracking system.
Yeah.
Okay, so they can really see what's going on with their mock-up, and they can make decisions to change things thanks to the technology.
Yeah.
For instance.
Great.
And this is a way, and we could not do it before.
Yeah.
So this is very, very important. And we are working on how they use data, because in all the shops now you have this eye tracking system, potentially active eye tracking systems. So this is something you have to be able to use to manage the program. Okay.
Right. Okay. And
if we look at visionary people, ambition in learning, in ecosystems, Grenoble is a very small town compared to our to other big cities of innovation and big places of innovation, and we have always we remain competitive because we are quite focused, and we are all converging on the same issues. And our history is that, our background is that it all comes from our territory. It all comes from two things. One thing, the mountain, okay? And so we have to, we believe in the mountains. even if you're not from Grenoble, when you come here, you believe into the mountains. Because thanks to the water, thanks to the forest, thanks to all these things, we have the energy, we have the chemistry, we have the microelectronics industry here. It's a lot of jobs, it's a lot of wealth for Grenoble. Okay. This is what we are working for. This is our ambition, using technology and innovation to make our territory a great territory to live
center of
in.
Innovation. Yeah.
And I talked about the mountains. It's also in Grenoble we have the Vercors, and the Vercors is one of our mountains. Is a high place for resistance during World War II. So many Nobel Prizes or potential Nobel Prizes moved to Grenoble because we were on the free zone during World War II, and they settled here. And that's why we have huge research infrastructures and so much researchers, because they stayed here. Then they stayed here. This is also thanks to the mountain. Okay.
Wow.
So this is where now we are in a very international industry, microelectronics. It is not a local story, not at all. Okay. So we are both, at the same time, we have to be very international, but with very local values and motivation. That's all. That's all what we're doing.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you.
Our vision is about mega trends, about weak signals. My thesis was about anticipation, anticipating disruptive technologies and innovation through weak signals. Okay, so this is really something we have inside, and we share a lot about where we are willing to go, where we are all willing to go together. That's all. And the learning ambition in learning innovation, it's 3 levels. Influencers for a more sustainable connected world, because this is our topic. Influencers, really, because this is now, we did not develop this, and this is very important. The second level is champions, your EdTech people, your startup people, including EdTech startups people. Champions. Okay, the third one is about ambassadors that are really able to negotiate big partnerships to attract big talents, to attract big resources, where you want them to be. So having a network, to come back on the introduction with Wim, being in a network is very, very important, because it is not one city that is attractive. If this city is one of the key places of a nice network, then okay, it becomes really attractive. And it is more than a network, because I saw this question in the discussion. The ecosystem is much more than a network, really, really. At least because you have these actors, you have a common challenge, major challenge on the long term. You have common artifacts. the labs. We have our labs, but we are partners of the CA System Labs. We are involved in Schneider Electric customer labs. So we are working all together. Next step, customer Schneider Electric ask us, how can we detect, understand, use the early understanding of, early customer behaviors in front of innovation? Early customer orientation. How can we do that in our labs, physical labs, virtual labs? So we cannot do it just in the air. We have to be in their labs. So it will be an ecosystem because you have these actors, these activities on the long term, and the common challenge, and you have these artifacts that are shared, and it is so expensive. It is really so expensive that you really have to share and to make a kind of map of these labs with different specialty in different places. I'm convinced.
And you're very enthusiastic about it. And I think that the last question that I would like to bring to you is by Noor Yuris. And I think it's in the same line of what you just answered. Noor, can you repeat your question, please?
Noor had messaged me and let me know that her internet is being unstable, so she isn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sophia, can you take over from her then?
Sure. Her question was, she was wondering if Sylvie, you could provide some examples when it comes to co-experimentation and the factors that make this a successful process.
Yeah. I have in mind one of our last. Well, we have two co-experimentation. One is about robots and cobots. And I think that on the 5th of May, you will have a presentation of a learning session. We call it Prof Explorer. And we are using cobots to assist the professor in the labs. So I won't talk about this co-experimentation. I will talk about one with we are developing with ST Microelectronics, Schneider Electric, and NanoElec, of course, and the CA, of course, and the engineering school. It is about, you know, during the pandemic, and still today, we can observe huge queues when you are willing to go shopping. You have really hours of queues. In terms of customer satisfaction, it is really very bad to be forced to queue. So they have a new application of their technologies, which is about image sensors, so capturing the flow of people. Okay, developing a kind of application with some embedded artificial intelligence and many things like this, to be able to inform customers, citizens, about in advance about the time of queuing if they are willing to go there. But it goes further into advising them in which order they should go shopping, at what time, which day, blah, 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 blah. And then they were just wondering whether it would be acceptable, it would be used by customers and citizens. So in our biz labs, we have a home, a street, a food store, and a shop. And so we tested their system. It was really a small-scale lab experiment with these firms, with people from these firms, just to try to see whether this kind of data on a smartphone application, the time for queuing would be, how it would be perceived, whether it would be useful for people, which people, at what time, what is the benefits for them. So this is what we try to co-experiment. Surprisingly, we did not really find an added value for one very, very simple reason, which is if you have to go shopping, you have to go shopping. It's just like for the air quality. We've done things about the quality of the air inside inside the building. Okay. Okay. If you know that you have a bad quality of the air, you cannot do much things to get it better. So just people do not adopt this kind of information or data-driven information services. Okay, so this is what we are co-experimenting with our partners. I don't know, I hope it answers your question.